Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Kavanaugh's Corner. Now, as you may notice, I'm filming this in a different location than I normally do all my Kavanaugh's Corner reviews because the movie I'm going to review today sadly does not come with a digital copy or really the disc menu that I usually have on the TV behind me. I can't show because of the fact that it's a moving menu and it shows scenes from the film that I can't show. So I'm filming it in my other filming location, which I do my movie reviews, but really this movie, I got a good one for you today, folks. This is one that I was very excited for, and it's not a 4K Blu-ray, ironically enough. It's a standard Blu-ray, but this is a little collector's edition that I really wanted to share with you because it's a movie that I really love, and it's a big movie in my opinion, and this movie finally has gotten the treatment that it deserves, and that is Robocop. The original, the only Robocop. Robocop 2 and 3 are, you know, fairly good in their own right. 3, again, it's you know, depends on who you talk to, but I kind of enjoy different things about 3, but not a great movie. But this original one here, we're not going to mention the remake, we won't talk about that. But this one here is an extraordinary movie, and I've always loved it. I remember seeing it when I was young. Probably shouldn't have seen it when I was young, but I remember seeing this when I was a kid, and this movie is always been one of my favorite action films of all time. This is a phenomenal picture, and today I'm going to be talking about this new Arrow Video collector's edition of Robocop. Now this here, I pre-ordered a little while back, and it took me a little bit to review it here on the show because this has got to have some of the most special features I've ever seen on a set. And this is the Steelbook edition, which I was really glad to see got marked down after I pre-ordered it, which was good. But this is, again, I'm going to show you the set here. It actually comes with a little sleeve that I've removed here, little stick-on thing. And I'm going to open it up just to show you. It's a 2-disc set. Again, it has 2 different discs and a little booklet that is very, very informative. And there's even artwork on the inside of a very infamous scene from the film. And I really love this set. This is an absolutely awesome set from Arrow Video. Now, I have never reviewed an Arrow Video release on this channel. This is the first one, but I can tell you it definitely will not be the last. They did a stupendous job on this release, and it's really what I'm going to be talking about today. Now, as I mentioned earlier, this is a standard 1080 Blu-ray. It's 2 Blu-ray discs. One disc has the director's cut, and the second disc is kind of interesting because the second disc has the theatrical version of the film, but it also has the TV version. So this set actually has 3 different versions of the film. Now, I remember seeing this movie on TV quite a few years ago with commercials and everything. It was really horrible, but the TV version is really a testament to how editing can affect a picture, and it is really interesting to see. It's got to be the most sanitized version of a very brutal R-rated film that I've ever seen. But I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. But really, this set is pretty cool because this set has a 4K transfer of the film. And the 4K transfer is absolutely beautiful. This has got to be the best this movie has ever looked. Now, I've owned this in various iterations. Those of you lucky enough to own the old Criterion Collection version of this remember what this movie used to look like when it was on DVD many, many years ago. I never owned that version. I looked for it for many, many years and was never able to obtain it. So I ended up buying it on Blu-ray a few years ago, and the Blu-ray that I owned was good. But this, for some reason, I don't know what was done to it, but this version looks absolutely perfect. There is, like I mentioned, there's 2 versions of the film. that have kind of been cleaned up in 4K. The director's cut, which is on the first disc, which is actually the version I recommend you see if you've never seen this movie before. And then there's the standard theatrical cut, which came out in theaters back in '87, which has also been cleaned up. Now, this movie, again, it's a 4K restoration, so watching this on standard 1080, if it's upscaled to 4K, this movie looks really good. Of course, there is grain in the picture, but it's a very crystal clear picture. Since the movie was shot on film, you are going to get that grain, and I'm glad to say the movie has not been DNR'd to hell. Digital noise reduction really sometimes can ruin a film. See the original, the re-release Blu-ray of Predator, if you want to know what I'm talking about there, and the more recent 4K version of Terminator 2, which was a kind of a disappointment in some ways. But honestly, the picture on this disc is great. It actually may be one of the best looking standard Blu-rays that I have ever seen. It was done by MGM back in 2013. And the old Blu-ray that I had was not this version. It was an older version, and I can say that the director's cut on that version was not that great looking. It was actually kind of lousy, and I'm really glad to say that this release is pretty much the best this movie has ever looked. Now, the director's cut does have little pieces of the film that were edited out to obtain an R rating. This movie was submitted to the MPAA like 74 times or something. That's an exaggeration, but it really was submitted many, many times in order to get an R rating. And those little pieces that were edited out for its graphic violence have been reinserted in the director's cut. And there is a very slight dip in quality on the director's cut, but it's become so slight now. The movie has been cleaned up so well that when it dips, it really only looks like the picture gets a tad bit darker and maybe a slight bit grainier, but it's barely noticeable now, which is really great, because I've heard from people that own the Criterion DVD and Laserdisc that when it went to that director's cut stuff, it did not look good. But I can say on this, it looks really good. Picture overall is phenomenal. Now again, there's no HDR because again, it's just standard Blu-ray, but the picture on this is great. Is the fact that this set has, on both versions of the film, the director's cut and the theatrical, it has a totally lossless audio track, and it's in stereo. It's the original audio of the film, completely in its purest form in stereo. Now, this movie was not put out in a time when 5.1 was widely used, so the original track was in stereo, and I have to say that stereo track is fantastic. However, if you do watch it in 5.1, it's a DTS HD master audio, it sounds pretty good too. But if I had to make a suggestion, I would actually suggest you watch it in stereo, ironically enough, because that stereo track is beautiful. It is just the way that the director and the people that made the film intended, and it's great. You can't miss a thing. Sound effects are very loud and thunderous, and the audio of the dialogue is crystal clear. It's beautiful. Now, getting on to the special features here. The first disc that has the director's cut has a slew of special features. It has all new interviews with actors, one of the writers. It has a really great interview with Nancy Allen, who plays Lewis in the three Robocop films, the original three Robocop films. And it's really cool to hear her stories of how she auditioned for the film and her opinion on her haircut in the movie, which is really funny to hear. She's a really great lady, and I'm glad that she was able to be interviewed for this, because it's a brand new one, and it's a nice little piece to have in there. Another good part in this is there's an interview with the casting director, Julie Seltzer, and there's another great interview with Mark Goldblatt, who was the second unit director of the film, and he really did a great interview too. Really some nice insights in there. Really nice. And again, there's more than that, man. I mean, we could go on and on. You know, there's a whole a whole deal with a whole tribute with Basil Polidoris, who I'm probably mispronouncing, the great composer that did this film and many others. Awesome little video tribute to him there. My favorite has got to be, there's a great little panel Q&A with basically everybody that had something to do with this movie. It's from 2012. But that panel, it's a great watch. If you're really big into this movie and you enjoy hearing from Peter Weller and everybody else involved, really, even the director, Paul Verhoeven, is in this panel. It's a great little discussion piece, and I really enjoyed that most of all. I thought that was the best thing on the disc. And, you know, there's a bunch of other things. There's raw dailies from from filming the really gross gore scenes that were in the that are in the director's cut. Some really nice stuff. There's 2 audio commentaries on this thing. There's one by one with a film historian, and there's other ones that have a commentary with the fans. There's also 2 older commentaries that are on here, both on both discs. One is the director's cut and the theatrical cut. And it's an older commentary by Paul Verhoeven and one of the producers, John Davidson, and Ed Neumeyer, one of the writers. Again, that's on both discs. So no matter what version of the film you watch, I should say, you get that older commentary as well, which I think is pretty cool. There's even an isolated score on here on the theatrical cut. There's a lot. There's a lot. The other thing I want to mention that I think is really cool on this disc is the fact that there's the theatrical cut, which is on the second disc. And I think it's like 95 minutes long. It's in standard definition, so it's not going to look nearly as nice as the other versions of the film that are on here. But that theatrical cut, if you've ever seen this movie edited for television, what a Herculean task that must have been. The thing that's really crazy is they actually edit words in here that are not even swear words, which I think is really funny. Like the word scumbag is edited in the TV version. They even have a little featurette that shows like the comparisons between the theatrical and the TV version, that shows the changes. It's like a little split screen featurette, which I think is wild to see if you don't have time to watch the whole movie in its edited for TV form. So there's a lot. There's a lot on this set. But I have to say, this is gotta be the best and really the definitive release of Robocop that I have ever seen. The packaging is beautiful with the original artwork on it. It is really a joy. Again, I have never seen this movie look better in either form. I love this film, and I think Arrow did an absolutely phenomenal job making this home video release here. They, for the first time ever, I think a company has surpassed Criterion when it comes to a definitive release of a motion picture. This is stunning, and I cannot wait for this thing to come to 4K at some point. I don't know if we'll ever get it, but man, I really hope this gets a 4K release, because if this movie looks as good as it does on Blu-ray in its 4K transfer, then that Ultra HD release really should be something. Anyway, I'm going to put a link to this in the description below so you can purchase it. If you do click on that link and buy it through that link, I do get a kickback, and it helps me on this channel so I can provide more reviews like this to you. Anyway, that's all for today for Kavanaugh's Corner. I want to say thank you for coming back to the channel, and if you enjoyed this, hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel for more. I love you guys. Until then, so long.